Today, the 4th of February 2021, the Republic of Consciousness Prize released their 2021 long list. The Republic of Consciousness Prize is an award that goes to a small publisher based in the UK or Ireland, and it's based on the best book published by such a small publisher in the past year. It needs to be published in English, but it can be in translation, and it can have been published before, but it just needs to be the first time it's been published in the UK and Ireland. And how small are these publishers? Well, the criteria for inclusion, I believe, is they need to have no more than 5 employees. So these really are quite small companies producing some really quite big books, figuratively in terms of impact, and literally some of them are quite large. So these 10 books represent the breadth and diversity and the excitingness and the experimentation of the UK and Irish small publishing scene. It's really great to see, and it's something I think a lot of my favourite publishers are on the list, others that I didn't know about before but I'm really looking forward to getting into. And the Republic of Consciousness, starting in 2020 in reaction to the pandemic, shared the prize money, instead of giving it all to the winner, shared it between all of the shortlisted presses. And this year, I think for the first time, they're giving some money to each of the 10 presses that was on the long list, and they'll give another chunk of money to the 5 that make it onto the short list, which will be announced later in the year. So I would recommend going and checking all of them out. On my small online independent bookshop, unireadinglist.com, we put up a post that goes into a little bit about the prize and where it comes from and how it's funded and everything like that, and the 10 books on the list. So if you want to see all 10 books, go and check that out. We're also selling a flexible bundle so you can get all 10, or you can get just whichever ones you want to choose from that list, and it all comes at a discount. Even if you don't take the whole list, there's still a discount applied, and a proportion of all of the sales of that bundle that we make are going to go straight into the prize fund for the Republic of Consciousness Prize. So buying it that way, firstly the publishers and the authors get a book sale, so that's supporting them, but also a portion of that money will go into the prize fund and help perpetuate this great scheme to bring attention to these excellent publishers. And so I'll put the links down below for that blog post and for the bundle if you want to check out what books are on there and maybe buy some and support these publishers. But in this video I'm also going to highlight 3 of the books. I haven't read these 3, but these 3 grabbed my attention and I think showcase a little sample of the kind of exciting thing that you get on the list. But these are based on what grabbed my interests from the blurbs, and they're all particular to the things that I'm into. So if these don't grab your attention, I would recommend going and having a look at the full list, and there's bound to be something for everyone. So the first one is just no particular order, it's just on the top of the pile that I'm about to reach for, is Alindarka's Children by Alhierd Bacharevic, translated by Jim Dingley and Petra Reid. And I'll just read you the blurb. It says, Alicia and her brother Avi are interned at a camp where children are taught to forget Belarusian and to speak Russian, aided by the use of drugs as well as surgery on the larynx. They escape into the forest through a hole cut in the wire, but are pursued by the camp leaders and left to thrive for themselves in an adult Hansel and Gretel adventure. And there's 2 quotes on the back, one from New Eastern Europe that says Kafkaesque with elements of cyberpunk, and one from Maria Martisevic who says Bacharevic hits you in the eye with the truth and it hurts. So this particularly grabbed my attention because I'm interested in Eastern Europe and that part of Eastern Europe, especially in Ukraine, which is just south of Belarus. And I think Belarus and Ukraine have some similar interesting bits of history in common, especially around the languages there and how those were treated during the Soviet period and what's happened since and even before the Soviet period. So those are all topics I'm really interested in, and a Kafka-esque novel with elements of cyberpunk about all those things grabbed my attention. And Bacharevic is one of the big Belarusian language authors. He also apparently was in one of the first Belarusian language punk bands, so I might check that out on YouTube after making this video. And it just looks really interesting to me, and I think it's great that this publisher and these translators and this prize long list is going to bring greater attention to this author in the Anglosphere, because I think he's quite widely translated and well read in Central and Eastern European languages and countries, but hasn't really broken through into the consciousness in the UK yet. So hopefully that will change with this one. And it's published by Scotland Street Press, who aim to publish diverse books from Scotland and the world. And I think this is a great example of that kind of thing. The next one on my pile is Men and Apparitions by Lynne Tillman. And this is published by Peninsula Press, which I think it's the newest of the three publishers that I'm going to mention in this video. Started in 2017 by 3 booksellers after a successful Kickstarter campaign. One of their first books was a collection of writings by the artist David Wojnarowicz, who I'm really interested in, so that immediately grabbed my attention about this publisher. They also published Radical Attention by Julia Bell, which is an essay, a short book, an essay in book form about attention in our contemporary world, particularly with the internet and all sorts of things like that, which I read late last year and found really interesting. And so they publish provocative, interesting non-fiction and, in this case, fiction. And I'll read you the blurb. It says, "Meet Ezekiel Hooper Stark, cultural anthropologist and bemused commentator on the contemporary world. Zeke has carved out an academic career studying family photographs, gender and images. Meanwhile, now 38, he still contends with his own family's perversities and pathologies which charge his chaotic love life. While living in London, Zeke finds himself spiralling into crisis as the centre ceases to hold. So too does any pretense of his having a dispassionate, purely academic interest in these issues. Zeke finds a new research topic, himself. He embarks on a quixotic new project studying the new man born under the sign of feminism. What, he asks his male subjects, does masculinity mean today in a world in which all the old models are broken? What do you expect from women? What do you expect from yourself? Meanwhile, what will the reader make of Zeke? Is he enlightened or misguided, chauvinistic or simply delusional? Kaleidoscopic and encyclopedic, comic and tragic and philosophical, Men and Apparitions showcases Lynne Tillman not only as a unique novelist, but also as one of our most important contemporary thinkers on art, culture, and the politics of gender. And I think I'm interested in art, politics, and art, culture, and the politics of gender. So that really grabbed my attention, and this publisher is quite a recent one, started by booksellers, like I said, and it's really exciting to see what they're doing, even in such a short time after starting the business. So that is one that I'm looking forward to checking out. And the third, but certainly not least on my list, is Lote by Shola von Reinhold, and this is published by Jacaranda Books, which has been around for, I think, 10 years this year. And I've watched a great interview with the founder of it once, so I'll link that in the description. And they are a diversity-led publisher, founded and led by a black British woman. And in 2020, they they had a program called 20 in 2020 where they published 20 different Black British authors in the year 2020. And from the research they've done, from what anybody can tell, this is the first time any publisher has published 20 Black British authors in a single calendar year. So that's a really exciting project that they had started working on a few years ago. Obviously, it takes a long time to be able to get to the point of publishing 20 books in 1 year. And of course, COVID hit. So it's an incredible achievement that they managed to deliver on that 20 in 2020, bringing so many, this is a debut author, bringing so many voices to our shelves. They're an absolutely brilliant, pushing the boundaries publisher. They've been around for a while, but they're constantly innovating and coming up with new things. And this book sounds really interesting. So the blurb says, solitary Matilda has long been enamoured with the bright young things of the 20s, and throughout her life, her attempts at reinvention have mirrored their extravagance and artfulness. After discovering a photograph of the forgotten black modernist poet Hermia Druitt, who ran in the same circles as the bright young things that she adores, Matilda becomes transfixed and resolves to learn as much as she can about the mysterious figure. Her search brings her to a peculiar artist's residency in Dun, a small European town Hermia was known to have lived in during the 30s. The artist's residency throws her deeper into a lattice of secrets and secret societies that takes hold of her aesthetic imagination. But will she be able to break the thrall of her transfictions? From champagne theft and black modernisms to art sabotage, alchemy and lotus-eating proto-luxury communist cults, Matilda's journey through modes of aesthetic expression guides her to truth and the convoluted ways it is made and obscured. So that sounds really interesting. Again, as someone interested in art and thinking about art and culture and politics, that of course sounds like it's full of things that will provoke a lot of interesting lines of thought. In a way, it sounds somewhat reminiscent of Rita Indiana's book Tentacle, which also has kind of artists' retreats in it. And that left me thinking, with so much to think about and talk about for months and months and months after I read it. So if this is anything like that, then I'm definitely looking forward to it. That's also by a small indie publisher and other stories. But yeah, these three publishers, Peninsula Press, Scotland Street Press and Jacaranda Books, are just 3 of the 10 really exciting publishers, very small publishers that are represented on the Republic of Consciousness 2021 long list. So check out the blog post, check out the bundle if you want to buy them, support my small independent business and support the prize and these great publishers and authors. So have you read any of these books? Which ones are you most excited to read? And who are your favourite very small publishers? And who would you hope to see maybe on next year's long list for the Republic of Consciousness prize? Thanks for watching, and if you want more discussion of the book world and the publishing industry, why not subscribe? And I'll see you next time. Cheers!